do it. Let's do it.
Okay, welcome. This is BitDevs Radio Hour number 3. We're going live here from ATL BitLab. I'm Stephen DeLorme.
My name's Alex Lewin, and we are here with a very special guest, Evan. Want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Evan Kaloudis. I am the founder of Zeus. Zeus is mobile Lightning Bitcoin wallet. Started really just as a remote controller back in 2019. You could connect it to a mobile Umbrel or a remote node, like a voltage node. It's since turned into a full wallet. We do LSP services, get you connected to the Lightning Network, channel leases. We do swaps now, and we even help onboard companies to the Lightning Network, help them with operations too.
Sweet.
Dope.
Yeah. So for those of you the very few number of you in the audience who have not heard of Zeus, Zeus is definitely one of the most beloved wallets in all of Bitcoin, which gives Evan a super interesting perspective on evaluating some of the interesting new protocols that are popping up. Like Zeus has been shipping feature after feature after feature after feature for the past several years, and you guys are launching some new super cool stuff recently. So we're excited to hear your opinions about a lot of the new layer 2 protocol designs that have been popping up, and your evaluation of them and which ones you've decided to go with and not go with.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thanks again, guys, for the really warm welcome. Always fun being at the BitLab, and love seeing the new digs today.
It's been a while since you've been at ATL BitLab, actually.
I know. I've been trying to come down for TabConf and been talking with Tiddles every year. He's like, you got to come down.
Yeah.
But life's just been chaotic.
It's been so long since Evan's been to ATL BitLab that I had to find him at the old BitLab.
I'm at the door. I'm like, where are you guys?
Yeah, the legacy BitLab. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was BitLab V2.
Yeah, I get out of the Uber and I'm like, oh, I'm here, right? So
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
It's
V1 and
been
V2.
great.
This is BitLab V3 now, so glad to have you here.
Yeah, man, great to be here.
Cool.
So maybe just like a rundown. You said that as Zeus started out, it's kind of a remote controller for things like Umbrel or a voltage node or whatever manner of self-hosted node. What's the kind of current status of where Zeus is at today for people who might not be as familiar?
Right. So 2019 started the remote node. We added all these different interfaces. So it was just LND at first, but then we added Core Lightning, LND Hub, all these different flavors, right? 2023 is when we turned it from just the free and open source project into more of a company. And we put a proper node in the phone. Like you could just hit quick start and you get a full Lightning node and Lightning wallet in your pocket. And that rolled out at the same time as our initial LSP services. So you just pay a Lightning invoice, it instantly gets paid. You open up a Lightning channel, little fees deducted, then you're just off to the races. Since then, we've done a lot of B2B stuff, helped enable businesses accept Bitcoin and integrate it into their operations. We added swaps. We added a whole bunch of new functionality. Still trying to find that balance, between adding those awesome features like a remote node runner would want to have, but also trying to make the experience for a newcomer even better. And that's really been the focus going into 2026, is that we want to have this graduated wallet experience. So, in 2019, you weren't going to recommend Zeus to your grandma. It was just cutting edge. For us, nerds, remote node runners, really into exploring Lightning and what that entailed, managing the channels, the liquidity, wanting to do it on the go. And, that's not going to be the experience for the average person. The average person just wants to be able to send and receive money, right?
Yeah, and just for those who might not be familiar, the original architecture, the remote node architecture is you have to run a Lightning node in the cloud on your own, and then Zeus just connects to it.
Right. So you would have to first get the node set up, whether you go to Voltage and sign up for one, pay a subscription, set it up yourself in the cloud, or have a way to get route like a connection like remotely to like the node that's in your closet, and that has its own challenges. Like, oh, are you going to connect over Tor? Are you going to set up a VPN? Like, how's that going to be done? So that's just one challenge. The other challenge is like wrapping your head around how Lightning channels work. How are you going to route? How are you going to manage that? And it takes someone who's like highly motivated and frankly technical to get to that point. So then 2023 comes along. We get it to like be one press, but there's still some challenges like the channels that you have. You got to pay for them, right? Like some wallets were really struggling because the way they priced it and they set everything up. They're like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense unless you send like a huge amount, right? And people are like, okay, I got to send $70 to get started with a Lightning wallet. And like we sort of figured it out and found a way like, okay, like you really need like $5, $6, $7 worth of Bitcoin to get started and really try out the self-custodial experience. But for a lot of that's a lot for just trying out an app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to like solve for those issues. Like, how do you onboard someone who doesn't have any money, any Bitcoin to begin with? And two, how do you abstract away like any of the challenges of explaining, like, roughly speaking, Lightning liquidity, inbound capacity, outbound capacity? Why am I limited? I don't have these limits when I do, basically anything else, unless you're like receiving an absurd amount, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and these like barriers to UX, it seems like an unmovable object just with non-custodial Lightning today. Managing users' liquidity on their behalf, opening channels, getting like fees deducted out of nowhere. Like every non-custodial Lightning wallet, like Async, Phoenix, deals with these same issues. So, the graduated wallet is can you talk a little bit about the graduated wallet?
Yeah. So the graduated wallet idea is you start off with something that is not quite self-custodial Lightning. It's either custodial or has a trusted element to it. And as the user gains more experience, as they add more funds to the wallet, either the wallet will prompt them to upgrade, or potentially in other scenarios, things could happen automatically under the hood. Some people have some differing philosophies about that. But essentially, you go on this user journey, and the user at least gets you to self-custody, where you're holding your own keys, you're in control of your own destiny. And, we have like a very interesting path where, okay, you could start with the trusted or custodial version. We get you to the self-custody mode, the wallet and the phone. And then at the end of the spectrum is like where we started in 2019, where that's like, you're the Olympian, you're the remote node runner. And, it's sort of like a funny tension. It's like, we know that if Zeus and Lightning is going to be successful, like we know that 99.99% of users are never going to get to that top tier, like the group we originally catered to. And that's okay. It's like sort of like a shoot for the stars. It's going to be okay if you land on a cloud, right? Scenario. We want to just get people to self-custody and being in control of their own finances. And that's sort of the philosophy that we're taking with it.
I think the graduated wallet is a trade-off that I'm warming up to. Also, we got a comment from the chat, Sup Freaks from Level 99 Slacker. Hey, thanks for tuning into the stream, Slacker. So I think the graduated wallet is a trade-off that I'm warming up to a lot, because one big unlock for me was just thinking about the idea that when you have very small amounts of Bitcoin, you really can't self-custody them, period. And so like what I mean by that is we might think about like, well, this is really prohibitive. I want to download this wallet and they're trying to charge me to open a Lightning channel to me, but I just wanted to receive 100 sats. It's like, well, it's so close to the dust limit that it's like if you needed to force close that channel, you really wouldn't be able to self-custody it on chain anyways. Like you would just, you would eat up so much in fees that it would be impractical. And so when I started to think about it that way, it's like, well, yeah, maybe you need a certain bare minimum in order to self-custody, and we shouldn't worry about optimizing self-custody for small amounts.
Right, right. And I think that's like a big critique that like even some of the new L2s and architectures get, but are also pretty silly if you try to frame it in like terms of Lightning even and self-custody Lightning. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like it's no different than thinking about the security model of something that's like in your pocket, like how much you're going to have in cash in your wallet in your pocket versus in a bank versus in other assets you have. Like, you don't have to be like an ideological, like absolutist in terms of, you know, Bitcoin as a whole. Like, I think you're going to end up being really upset, um, all the time if you are just judging the way that people use Bitcoin. Like, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, like the motive to move people to self custody, I think, is like there's a few different reasons that we like this. Like one of the reasons that we care about pulling people on self custody is our ideology and like getting people on self custody. Rah rah rah, go Bitcoin.
Of course.
But there's also like it seems like there's practical benefits from a business's perspective to not take on the risk of holding users' money.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's like you don't have to be a regulated bank if the users are holding their own funds.
It's such a quagmire, like dealing with all that. Like we're such a small project, small company right now, right? We are finally up to 4 full-time employees. We'd never be able to operate at this scale if we were like dealing with holding our users' money. Like it would just never fly. We'd either be running like black market or, you know, be gone, be in jail. Fortunately. So the fact that we're able to, you know, not custody any users' funds is amazing.
Level 99 Slacker asked, is this graduated wallet feature live in Zeus yet?
Yes and no. So if you have the embedded LND wallet, right? So it only works right now if you have the node in the phone. The remote wallets, they don't expose the seed, so we can't derive a seed for your Cashu wallet. But if you have the embedded LND node, you can go to settings, eCash, you can turn on Cashu. It's not the full user experience that we have in mind. We're going to be starting work on that in the coming weeks. We're roughly calling it version 0.13, but we see it as like a 1.0 in a lot of ways. We'll see how the versioning pans out. You're going to get prompted to like upgrade once you have enough to purchase a channel, but it's very rough around the edges, and we're calling it experimental. But I use it every single day. My Zeus Pay Lightning address is powered by Cashu. It sweeps automatically to self-custody at a certain threshold. Sometimes the mints can be a little quirky, so we want to try to like optimize the rotating between them all. And we're gonna do like multi-mint sends and a lot of junk under the hood to make things really smooth. But it's certainly held up pretty well since we released it in, say, the last major release, which was over the summer, I think.
Cool. Yeah, super excited. Very happy to hear that Zeus is implementing eCash. I think it's super cool as a way to onboard people onto Bitcoin with the best possible UX, as well as while preserving privacy, credibly. Yeah. So that's super cool.
I was curious a little bit about the graduated wallets and how they relate to the LSP. And what I mean by that is another unlock for me with graduated wallets was the idea, and this was and Blue Matt was explaining this to me, but this idea that like, can you kind of offset the liquidity requirements for an LSP by using graduated wallets? And I've had discussions with some of my colleagues at Voltage about these similar ideas. It's like, if I think one thing with an LSP that can happen, we hear this kind of criticism about Lightning and Lightning service providers, that Lightning service providers don't scale, or Lightning doesn't scale because there's this opportunity cost of having capital locked up in Lightning channels. And when we think about people who kind of do this like dipping, like I like Mogeshni from the design community has this, I forget what she calls it, but this is like user behavior she's observed among Bitcoiners where everyone kind of samples like all these different Bitcoin and Lightning wallets to try them all out. And I just imagine that for every self-custodial Lightning wallet out there, there's tons of inactive channels from users who've started using the wallets, then they received 100 sats, and then the Lightning channel never got used again, which I think could lead to this impression that liquidity deployed on Lightning is sort of ineffectively being used. It doesn't generate yield. It has an opportunity cost. It could have been used somewhere else. And the idea with a graduated wallet is like, well, maybe you could kind of offset that. You could like basically take all of the users who would have gotten a Lightning channel and only received 100 sats and never done anything with it, you could just funnel that into some kind of other layer 2 or some kind of, custody model or something like that. And that way you're only opening Lightning channels to the users who are truly serious about using this as like a frequent payments technology. So that was more of a statement, but I just kind of having put that out there, I'd just be curious to get your thoughts on like, what is it like running a large LSP? Do you have these kind of inactive liquidity problems, and do graduated wallets like help balance things out for the LSP for you?
This is a fantastic question, and there's like tons of layers to it. So some stuff I would agree with, some I wouldn't. So it really depends on how the channels are provisioned. Is it a user who's opened up a channel towards you, right? Or is it a channel that you've like leased out to a user and they paid for it up front? So the way I look at it is if you price it appropriately, someone leases out a channel from you, they lock up that liquidity, and you price it appropriately. You're saying, okay, if they route through it, that's just a bonus, but you've priced it like you won't really care, because you sort of have this expectation that that liquidity is going to be locked up. When it's a user that has opened a channel to you, they haven't purchased a lease or upgraded, what we call it in Zeus. That's definitely a bigger challenge because, if they open up a channel to you, it's fine. As they're pushing balance across, that's balance that, you've locked up, you can't really access. So there's a lot of nuance there. I think there is a little bit of a tension, like having a user go and, let's say, just only do Cashu and not buy anything from the LSP, of course, if that's like one of the main ways you make money. But on the other side of it, if you couple it with other stuff like swaps are interesting, right? Like swaps, you only lock up liquidity for like what, like a few minutes tops, whereas the channel lease could be, 3 months plus.
On-chain to Lightning swaps?
Yeah, and the way that we have it set up in Zeus, like you can actually be building up a balance in Cashu, right? And let's say you don't want to deal with self-custody Lightning, dealing with channels. Go ahead, go and swap it out to a cold wallet. You'll still be paying us for the swap. Don't have to deal with the pains of self-custody Lightning. There are definitely trade-offs. The Lightning balance could be rugged if you're using Cashu at any minute, but let users price that risk, right? So we're just really leaning into this concept of letting people make Bitcoin payments their way, use Bitcoin how they want to do it. Zeus can be a conduit for it, but also sort of be this Bitcoin Sherpa. Now, I don't know, like when you guys got into Bitcoin, but there were certain people that I felt like I could lean on, ask questions when I was starting to get into it. And they helped guide me in my journey. And I think similarly, a wallet can play that role to a certain extent with really good UI and UX, and we're really just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My favorite sticker on my laptop is something from the Bitcoin design community that says "Your UI is financial advice."
Yeah,
it's like, yeah,
it's not easy. You don't want to lead users astray. I mean, I think one really frustrating trend that we've been seeing the last year, especially, is companies and wallets sort of like misleading their users for like marketing purposes. Like, oh, this is the self-custodial solution. Oh, it's perfect now. And just like not really informing the users of the trade-off. And there's like a nuanced way to do it. Like You can get them in the door. You can show them those magical lightning moments like, oh, it's lightning fast. I can receive money with a few clicks and add it to my like Nostr profile or on my website, whatever, start receiving that money. But then like, okay, say, okay, this is how it's really working under the hood. You've been using it for X amount of time, or you received X amount of Satoshis. You might want to upgrade, and here's why. And there's like tasteful ways of doing it. Obviously, I understand like we're trying to make things easier and more accessible and, give people better reassurances and marketing is like a whole art form in itself. But people aren't stupid. Like people eventually understand, like generally speaking, maybe not all the technicals, but you know, um, where like the trade-offs are. So like, well, why lie to your users? Like people aren't stupid. Um, they just haven't had enough time like using the technology yet.
Yeah, this like puts Zeus like in or I guess all of the graduated wallets in like an interesting position of where you have to decide when to encourage the user to move from like the simple easy thing with trade-offs to the better trade-offs thing that's harder. Have you put much thought into exactly when you decide to start campaigning to the user to go non-custodial?
Right. So like this is one of the and obviously I think our architectures are different, but um, I think like Blue Matt, he's a huge proponent of the graduated wallet model and has definitely inspired me to go down that route. But his philosophy is like, okay, a lot of the stuff can happen automatically, so the user doesn't have to think about it. But I think that's more so coming from a place of like, okay, we're just gonna like open and like outbound channel to some random peer or whoever, however you set it up in the wallet. Whereas we're in like a more interesting position and we're like the service provider and we want to onboard people onto our services, but they come with a larger cost. It's not just like the cost of, doing an on-chain open or swap. We like are releasing this channel liquidity to them. And that's like a bigger financial decision. And I think that, everyone's finances, economic situation is different. So we want to like offload that to the user a little bit more in our stack, in our setup.
Yeah, I love like empowering users and putting them in control, but at some point you have to make the decision of like at what wallet balance do we put the modal on the wallet to say like, hey, you should consider it.
That's true. Well, I think where we have it now, it might be a little low. We have it at 10,000 sats, and that's enough to get a channel, certainly. Um, I think we're probably going to keep it there, but maybe give the users to like dismiss the modal, and then when they go up another 10x, the modal comes back, something like that. We're toying with it. It has some iterating to do, but I like the idea of things becoming more intense over time.
Mm.
You're at 10,000 sats, okay, whatever, but you'll get the reminder. But as time goes on, you're talking about millions of satoshis in a wallet. You're like, okay, dude, it wouldn't be great if you lost this money. This is a lot of money for most people in the world. And just find that balance between being like, okay, this is serious, but also having fun with it and like conveying the risk is like a very interesting UX challenge for sure.
Do you do Duolingo?
I used to. My
Do,
wife used to do it a lot, especially when she was trying to learn Greek.
they have all of the different characters in there. They're like, no matter what language you do, it's always like the same cast of recurring characters.
Yeah, we need those.
And there's like Lily, who's the like depressed, apathetic goth girl. And if you go too long without studying, she'll be like, you'll get like a push notification, like with like Lily's face, and be like, you need to study. You need to study Spanish today, or I don't care, whatever. Do whatever you want to, man. You do like that, like, you need to move your 50,000 sats into self custody, or don't. Sometimes it's fun to watch money burn, like.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun that we can do, especially just with our branding, the Greek mythology. There's just so many figures we can tap into. And I think we really just have so much more we can do and fun we can have with it. So yeah, we're really looking forward to like coming up with new ideas, working with more designers and UI experts, and just leaning into it more. You know, it's this critical part of our identity, and there's so many great Greek mythological tales. Um, it's gonna be great. It's just like we haven't had the time or the need to go too crazy with it. But yeah, this is a fantastic opportunity to do it. It's gonna be fun.
The Zeus Wallet cinematic universe.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we've got that. You know, we also have like the basics of like the profiles for the graduated wallet journey. It's like you're immortal. You start as immortal. Everyone's just a normal person, and then that's fine. Like because anyone can use Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for anyone really. So you start as immortal. When you're ready to go to self custody, either on chain or self custody Lightning, you become a god because then you're in control of your destiny, right? That's what it's all about. And then if you go so far as to run, you know, voltage, start 9 Umbrel node, you're an Olympian. You're at the top of the mountain. You're in control. You're establishing financial relationships with your channel partners. Um, and yeah, and we're just now thinking about like, okay, what does this onboarding look like? Like, how do we convey the mortal? What do they look like when they're a god? What do they look like when they're Olympian? I think they just get more muscles and longer beards and stuff. But
Yeah,
who knows? There's so many fun things we could do with that.
that's like so sick. Yeah, I had no idea that you're even exploring this kind of stuff. It's interesting. It's like you're backing into like the same UX as these like training wallets that some people are building, like Padawan. It's like
Padawan's really cool.
yeah,
They're doing a
but
great job with that.
yeah, but you guys, it seems like it's going to end up being a similar kind of journey for the user.
Right, right. You know, it's all this stuff can be jarring, especially with like something that's essentially like a superpower user wallet like Zeus. And I know it's getting easier over the years, but yeah, there's just so much we can do to make it a smoother journey and introduce these concepts in like a friendly and digestible way. Um, so yeah, like even more than doing like crazy technical things under the hood, I think a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing in 2026 is like just being on that design and UX grind. Like, how do we get this to the next 10x of users? Because like we were looking at the stats, right? Like we're trying to onboard more businesses and companies and having these crazy discussions, and we're trying to like paint this picture for them. It's something like 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, or maybe just crypto more broadly. And of that 50 million, only like 1.5, 2% maybe tops have used Bitcoin for payments. And that's just nothing.
It's pathetic.
It sucks. I mean, listen, look, we have been seeing great progress. The LSP is ticking up. The usage of the wallet's been ticking up. And we've definitely seen a nice wave of adoption come through now that Square has enabled Bitcoin payments on their terminals, or at least given merchants the option to opt into it. And we're super appreciative of that, but still a long way to go. And we realize pie is super small. We got to grow it. Bitcoin payments, they're just getting started. You know, it's not going to be like ideological ranting like about self. Oh, you're in control. You're in control. It's like, no, there's like real economic incentives for people to start using it. And a lot of it, that is on the merchant side. And I think a lot of the messaging that Square's done has just been fantastic. Like credit card fees are gouging people, you know, it's insane. And for us to be able to do it for a fraction of that price is phenomenal.
Yeah, Haley and Matt from Spiral have been doing this whole Bitcoin merchant community initiative, and all the messaging surrounding it is just like nothing to do with self-custody or inflation resistance or anything like that. It's all about saving money on credit card fees.
Right, right. So, what's the website you've been working on that too? Bitcoin merchant something?
I haven't been working on it, but
People at Spiral, like I know Steve Lee has been talking about.
yeah. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like Haley and Matt working on. I think it's Bitcoin Merchant Community.
It's like a real mouthful, but it's like the content's really good.
I think it's Bitcoin Merchant Community.org or com. We'll have to pull it up.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, we help small businesses keep more of their profit, and it's got 3% in sludge. Yeah, it's like it's not gonna. I mean, obviously, stuff like number goes up, and controlling your own funds it's huge, but it's really about the economic benefits. Um, you know, like cutting that 3% down to like I think it's going to be in the ballpark of 1%. Some cases a little more, some cases a little less. But also like the settlement time. So instead of having to wait like 3 days, 4 days, a week plus for some merchants to get their money, you could control it like the second the payment's completed. And that goes a real long way, especially if you have these really short turnarounds. That could be super useful for a lot of different types of businesses.
Have you heard about the changing rules with different kinds of like rewards cards? This was like new news a couple weeks ago.
No, tell us more.
So currently, or I guess in the past, there are differences in the amount of fees individual credit cards on a specific network will charge. So like Visa cards that will give the user more rewards will actually charge the merchant more.
Wait, is this a new thing? I thought this was around, like, I'm so out of the loop.
Well, so this has been the state of reality for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Like, right, so like a Amex card, like a platinum card that gives you a lot of rewards, or like, what's the other big one they were advertising at the airport?
Chase Sapphire.
Sapphire has a big campaign, right? Like, yeah, the fees for that must be insane.
Yeah, so this is all put on the merchants, and Visa had this policy of stating that if you try to reject any Visa card, you had to reject all the Visa cards.
Oh, brutal.
So you couldn't selectively, as a merchant, you could say that like I'm only rejecting these like big rewards cards. But now that's changing. So there's either a lawsuit or a policy change that now mandates that Visa allows merchants to reject specific credit cards based on the fees that they're providing, and Visa can't reject their network. They can't force merchants to accept this, which is super interesting. So like this is cool. This is awesome for merchants that they can do this. One other interesting thing I think from the Bitcoin payments perspective is this is going to inject new friction into credit card payments that have not been seen before in the credit card network for 50 years.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, that's nuts.
This could be an opportunity for us to solve some additional friction problems that this complicated system is creating.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. One of the things we've been thinking about is like, who are the merchants that'll go ahead and say, hey, we know we're going to deal with this. We don't want to deal with we don't want to add this friction to our customers. We're just going to kick it into our prices, right? And like that's sort of the smarter way to do it in some ways. And then there's going to be the merchants that discriminate, and they're also really loud about it. They're like, okay, you're paying with credit card, you're going to pay 3 or 4% extra, or you get a discount if you pay in cash. Like those merchants are already cognizant and really making a point about encouraging users to go the cheaper routes. Like we think those are the merchants that are better to target when you're trying to orange pill and onboard them.
Smart, like the ones that don't that are taking on some of the call it headache with payments to make it better for the consumers.
That the merchants that are already comfortable with confronting their customers about it.
So we've been chatting a little bit now about like the state of Zeus and the graduated wallet. I think one other place we could take this, let me know if this isn't where you wanted to go, Alex, but like I think it would be good to talk about like why you set up the graduated wallet the way you did, and maybe explore what some of the other alternatives to. So you said that Zeus is using embedded Lightning node along with Cashu, but we also have, is this okay direction to take it in? Yeah. So we have some other things you could have done too. So there's Cashu, there's Fedimint, the other flavor of Bitcoin eCash. There's Arc, there's Spark, which with an S in front. There is also just, hey, launching a business that can has a custodial wing that could custody some user funds, and maybe there's some other like layer 2s or ideas that I might have missed there.
Yeah, I think that covers it.
There's new ones popping up, like it feels like every couple of months. So we're gonna say for the record, we are pretty set on we're set on Cashu. That integration's well underway. You can use an experimental mode. There are some that we'll say definitively no to, but there are also some that the door's open to. So we think that there's definitely something here and worth exploring with the graduated wallet. But we also know that we're not going to get it 100% perfect out the gate. It was something we're going to iterate, but also, underlying technology is going to get better over time. Better solutions might emerge. And who knows? Cashu might not be the default for the graduated wallet forever. We might use it for different stuff. It could easily evolve. But in landing on Cashu, we gave a lot of thought and had been following these solutions for quite some time. I mean, let's say like 2023, I feels like when we first started getting like the very first like nascent ideas of the graduated wallet, and we had I think the one that really comes to mind is the Mutiny Wallet guys. And they said, I think it was if you bought their subscription, like Mutiny Plus, you'd have access to get the Fedimint functionality.
Yeah, I think they ended up giving it to everybody, but yeah,
They opened the doors.
I think it was a sort of thing where they gave newer features first to paying subscribers.
Yeah,
I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that for like our Zeus Pay Plus subscribers. Like they're testing like our new build with like the Nostr Wallet Connect stuff and our channel rebalance right now, which has been a lot of fun. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so that was like one we were really keeping tabs on, and the Muni Wallet guys, I love all those guys. Still talk to a bunch of them frequently. But yeah, I think like some of their ideas were just like a little too far ahead of their time. Like I feel like they were really testing out a lot of the stuff that Fedi was building out, right? And it was still just like a little too nascent, and they sort of got burned out, like dealing with being at the very fringe of it, right? Like the very cusp of this new stuff coming down the road.
Not just Fedimint, but also like
LDK.
pushing the limits of Lightning Dev Kit.
They were doing like too many things at the edge, like at the same time. It was like, okay, how do we get LDK working? Like LDK at the time, like had a lot of flaws, but I think is actually really mature and really awesome right now, and something that we're going to be playing around with a lot more in 2026 too. The same thing with BDK. BDK was a little more mature, but it's in a great state right now.
Bitcoin Dev Kit for the uninitiated.
Yeah, exactly. So like all the Rust libraries, super flexible, awesome stuff. But also doing that all in the context of the browser, which is like a nuts place to have like a self-custody wallet.
Also, they were
ambitious.
Yeah, they were building a bespoke encrypted remote storage architecture, so you could like connect with multiple devices. Like they ended up, or at least like Tony or Anthony from Uni, he spun that off into another company in and of itself. Just the backend storage and secure runtime stuff that they were building for Mutiny Wallet became an entire company that's now going on to be incredibly successful. So
fantastic stuff.
Yeah, but like it just, I think it's it will go down in history books as like the most ambitious attempt for like a technically ambitious project that anybody tried for Bitcoin.
Right, exactly.
For this era.
And like shit, like multi-device sync for like our embedded, like we still don't have that. That's hopefully something we cross off the checklist in 2026.
So they kind of inspired you, but so they launched a Fedimint part, but then that inspired you, but you decided to go with Cashu. What was the deciding factor between like Cashu versus Fedimint for you?
So I think for me, it's like Fedimint conceptually is just so much more sound, right? It's not without its flaws. Like people in the Federation still collude. It's not a perfect system, but there's like a little bit more system of accountability. And you see like a similar sort of pattern in something like a Liquid, where you're like, okay, you have these Federation members. They're like, people who have high profiles, like big companies in the ecosystem. Like that's fantastic. But I think the big thing is, especially in the last couple of years since Samurai Wallet was prosecuted or charged at least, right? It's made that sort of coordination, especially in the United States, like much more difficult. I think like really the tooling for that has gotten so much better in all the eCash stuff, but it's just like a higher barrier to entry. It's like that and like coordination. Like if a lot of the mints right now on the Cashu side are like run largely by anons, like how do you have that reputation system like play out? So the way I look at it is that in a different regulatory environment, like if that stuff gets greenlit, like we're we're Fedi to tomorrow. We're going to be in a federation. We'll go to and work with all our favorite companies, and that will be like the great way to onboard our users as that first step in the graduated wallet. And I think it would be more reliable in a lot of ways than the Cashew setup. But unfortunately, that's just not the world. That's not the environment we're in today. And hopefully that changes. But at the same time, I'm not holding my breath. Whereas in the Cashew side, the lack of the need to do that, the sort of explosion of sorts, although it's still very relatively nascent, but just seeing these mints be able to proliferate and the software to just spin them up in a couple of clicks, really ramp up just ecosystem maturity was like a really big part in our selection there. But I think just really what brought it home for us was just like I always in eCash in general, like the Xiaomi and like the blind signing and the fact that your mint is not going to be able to discriminate against any single user. They can still refuse to send to certain destinations. They can run fractional reserves. They can rug, right? But they don't know how much any individual user has because of the token system. It's felt like a no-brainer. And when you compare it to some of these other systems, it's just not tenable. So I guess if we're doing like the preference system, we sort of want to say, okay, in terms of our preferences right now, like Cashew's number 1, we're doing it. Fedimint's number 2. On the other side of the spectrum, right, on stuff we touched on, it was like completely custodial offering. Like that's probably the least attractive to us, especially when we see all these apps and wallets and services like do like shotgun KYC. It's like, oh, you have this balance, but now you need to send us your ID. Like that's
shotgun KYC. I have not heard
You've
that
never
term.
heard shotgun KYC?
Yeah, that's a beautiful term.
Yeah, you got to use that. Yeah, that sucks. We're never doing that.
And to be clear, you mean something like they start receiving funds into the wallet and you don't tell them that they need to KYC until they try to withdraw it.
It's not necessarily that. It's just wallets operating like this, and then regulatory environment changes, and the regulators are like, guys, like, it's cute that you were doing this, but like it's time to get serious. Like you're either going to go to jail or you have to get identification for your users, or you just take the funds, right? And like you can't really blame operators like entirely, especially if they're like gambling and like in terms of like making the risky decision to like make a startup, right? But that's not like a path that we wanted to go down. So like that's never gonna happen. So that's the least likely of the options.
Yeah, like it just you're by running a custodial service that you can see all the money. It puts you in an interesting situation compliance wise, where technically you if you're operating in certain regions of the world, you're obligated to do things that are not in the best interest of your users.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, so like
I don't want to do that. And then like we hit on this earlier, like I sleep better knowing that okay, if we mess up and something happens, it's only Zeus's money that's at risk with our operations, right? Our users, they're good to go. Unless they're, doing the Cashew. But at that point, we're at least the Sherpa in the wallet and telling them the risks very early on, right? 10,000 sats is the limit. Yeah.
Are there any other ones? So you said so running a custodial wing of the company is an absolute no. Is there any other ones that are just absolute no's for you?
Or just any others that you've explored?
Custody. Oh, yeah, we'll definitely talk about different options, but the lines in the sand for us are like being custodians ourselves, and I think even more importantly, doing KYC for end users, right? Users of the Zeus wallet. obviously it's a little different when we're like doing like the Zeus White stuff where we're interfacing with businesses. Like, know your business is completely different than KYC, I think. Especially if they're like businesses with like brick and mortar locations, like it's a whole other ball game. But yeah, KYC otherwise is a line in the sand for us. But yeah, other solutions. I think we touched on them earlier. Spark and Arc. And Spark has been the one that's been getting a lot of attention. They've been making a lot of moves. They've been doing pretty well for themselves, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm notably some people from Spiral, the arm of Block that focuses on Bitcoin research and development. Yeah, like at least like there's some interest from them. It's just they're taking a look at Spark and imploring the rest of the industry to pay attention to Spark, at least.
Yeah. So we were all there. Bitcoin Plus in Berlin. Steve Lee had a fantastic talk on Spark, and what I said, he was very careful with his words, but it was a very good presentation. I really recommend everyone check that out. We were talking about it a little earlier at lunch, but there's like a couple of problems that are like really not great with Spark. A lot of how they architected it, and largely regarding the privacy of it, right? Like we said that they are coming from this world where like people are on like Solana and ETH, and they have these like explorers, like where you could look up a wallet, their whole balance is like, oh, they have X amount of this token, X amount of this one, X amount of that. And all these transactions get put on the ledger, and they see it as more of a feature. And we see it as like a privacy nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially with like how some of these early implementations, like not to pick on them too much, but the way that like, oh, wallet is Satoshi, you get anyone's early wallet of Satoshi address for the new wallet or an invoice from them, and you could get their Spark public key out of it and look up their entire transaction history and get their balance. Like, that's bad. That's bad.
Just by sending a single payment to a user, you get this information.
Right. You just need to get one invoice, or if they have their Lightning address in their bio.
I see, because the Lightning invoice contains the Spark pub key, I guess, as a fallback, so that if it is a Spark user to Spark user transfer, it doesn't need to bother with a Lightning payment.
Right.
Oh, and then you get their Spark pub key and then look them up on the Spark Explorer and see it. Wow, that's
right. So in their defense, they're changing a lot of that. I think a lot of like the SDKs that power that stuff, like Breeze, they've already, like, the default is that's not the case. Like, there's a mode to opt out of it. But even if you're not exposing it by default, those records are still there and can still be pulled up by the Spark service provider. And they could comply with any government request, whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. So this is like a material architectural difference between eCash systems and Spark-like systems. Like, right. So there's trade-off differences. Like, eCash is purely custodial. Spark makes an argument, or in state chains, like is what Spark is, makes an argument that they're non-custodial because the servers promise to delete some keys as you make payments, which...
We promise, guys.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the interesting thing about Spark, is that, like...
We wouldn't delete the keys?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we hate trusting people. Like, the interesting part about Spark is that, like, it puts the company in a regulatory position that in order to be compliant, they must delete keys. Otherwise, they're breaking the law. So that's now the game. Is like, are they following the law or breaking the law to try to cheat you? So it aligns incentives that way. Yeah, so these are material differences between Spark and eCash systems. With eCash systems, you have no idea how many users are in your system, and you have no idea who has what money. It's all private by default. But with Spark, you have a granular view of how many users you have and how much money they have by default. So it becomes trivial to cancel or block individual users, or to try to kick specific users off your platform.
Well, so since this is BitDevs Radio Hour, I think we can dig a little bit deeper into the weeds here on this one. I think for anyone who's not familiar with Spark, I mean, we've talked about it at Atlanta BitDevs before, but the basic gist, this is an idea derived from the state chains idea. I think that was an idea Ruben Sobson proposed and worked on. There's a Mercury layer thing. So Lightspark has taken that original state chain idea and kind of modified it to fit their needs. And the basic idea is that every time you have an interaction with the state chain and receive Bitcoin, it's going to a multisig kind of, and that multisig is a like musig aggregate of, say, like my key and the Spark operator's key. And when I want to transfer that to Evan on another state chain user, for example, what's going to happen is the Spark operator is promising, I'm going to delete the chunk of key that I combined with Steven's in order to spend this coin. And we're going to make a new one that matches Evan's key. And then we have a new aggregate key. And so you never need to move the money around on chain. And I think the idea with state chains that's kind of interesting to me is that it is a pretty magical idea, this idea that with this one trust assumption, as long as you can, trust, or there's no way to verify something's deleted. But in theory, if you could verify that something was deleted, you could have this kind of magical system where, on-chain updates don't need to happen. And that's pretty cool. Now, in the current implementation of it, it's been implemented by Lightspark. Some people love them, some people don't love them. We also have the situation where in Lightspark's implementation, they've chosen to dox everybody on this, public explorer, right? And they could have not done that. Like, to Alex's point, yes, they do know how many users they have by running a federation of Spark operators. They do explicitly know how many users they have. But just because you know as a business how many users you have doesn't mean you need to dox all of your users' activity to the world. Like, Google knows how many people are using Google Docs, but it doesn't mean they need to have a Google Docs Explorer where you can see everybody's documents. Another idea here too is it seems like in theory one could implement some kind of blinding scheme for a state chain that gets a little bit too deep and deeper into the cryptography than I'm equipped to say. But so I guess my question with all of that is like, let's say somebody said, hey, I want to implement state chains, Evan, and I'm going to do it this time with a blinding scheme so that, I don't know how many users I necessarily have. And I'm going to make a commitment to not dox, all my users' activity in a block explorer. And I'm going to, open source it so that, somebody else can kind of join the federation of my thing. Would you be, but you still have to trust that we're all deleting our keys and all of that. But I'm blinding it. I'm not doxing my users like Explorer. Would you be like strictly opposed to something like that?
No, I mean, that's quite a number of ifs, and that's strictly that's better than eCash if you could hit those assumptions, right?
Yeah, and I know that's a lot of ifs, and it's not what we have currently. But the reason I wanted to ask that is just because I have I have my own complicated feelings on the matter, but I do feel like a lot of times the idea is like kind of shot down because it's like, well, I don't like the fact that there's no privacy, or I don't like the fact that there's, they doxed everything on a block explorer. And I'm like, well, state chains are kind of interesting, though.
They are super interesting. And I think this goes back to my earlier comment. If you are, if you're going to get upset about how other people use, or in this case, implement Bitcoin, you're going to have a bad time, right? And I think state chains are very much worth exploring and iterating on. At the same time, it's very much worth making a stink about these trade-offs, to inform users so that they know that these are very real things, and you don't want them to be making privacy trade-offs for important transactions, right? Whether it be for a transaction that's frowned upon by their state or whatnot, or if it's for some personal matter, that's very important. But the second part is talking about it and making us think about it is going to press people to, come up with better solutions, improve defaults, and like do the hard work, do the research to fix these very real issues. and ultimately create user demand for them to be solved. So we really commend those guys for trying something new, even if it's not our flavor of choice and something we won't implement in Zeus, at least in its current state. You got to commend them for at least going a different route and making the ecosystem more rich in that regard. I'll say that much.
Yeah, like it seems prudent to distinguish the criticisms for Spark from state chains. Like
That's true too.
like Spark is a state chain implementation. Like they like to call themselves a protocol, so the Spark protocol, but it's really in my opinion, it's closer to a product. Like they have other product offerings, like it's more complicated than that, but like Spark is a productized version of state chains that they are trying to get people to use so that they use the other products. So yeah, the state chain idea is interesting. It's cool. It has the fundamental drawbacks is that it's impossible, or maybe it's not impossible, but it's nobody's found a real way to make it private yet.
Right.
And even if you had the version where they don't publish it online, you're still trusting the operator with the private the transactions of the users. So eCash is hard to beat on privacy.
Yeah.
So the one we haven't gotten to yet, it's one that's been around longer than Spark. Arc doesn't have the SP in front of it. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about the Arc protocol or any of the implementations?
It's funny that they're named so closely, but they're not very similar.
Yeah, there's like the totally different under the hood.
Yeah, it's like funny when you see those trends, like was that naming it similarly intentional?
Probably not. Yeah, or at least, probably not.
Probably not, but who knows? Arc has been an interesting one, and so I've been vocal that we have been interested in exploring it. We think that it's a little too early, but we're really excited that wallets are deciding to explore implementations. So I think we've got the Arcade Lab folks. They put out their PWA app, and that's been pretty cool. It's got swaps going on with the fine folks at Boltz. Boltz backend actually powers the Zeus swaps backends. Shout out to those guys for all the hard work they do. They power so many apps now. It's amazing. And what else? There's a couple of other wallets that have like in an experimental state. I think Bitcoin has. I haven't played with that one. The Layers with wallet. It's Layers with a Z. Played with that. That's on Arcade too. And I think the big one is the guys at Blue Wallet are putting, or I'm not sure the state of it, but I have a panel with Igor from Blue Wallet in Mauritius for the African Bitcoin conference in a couple days. I think that's on Thursday. That's going to be exciting. So we'll chat about that more. Hopefully the video for that's posted online. So that's really cool. But we still have some concerns about it. I think in terms of user experience, it's like not quite where we want to be. The interactivity requirements right now are just a little overbearing, and it doesn't allow us to provide the experience that we really want to provide for users. And that includes being able to get that Lightning address and be able to receive sats for their content online. So unless we get covenants, I don't think that's going to be possible. Unless there's some crazy harebrained way we can get around that. Who knows? That might pop up. There is the griefing element, which I think is the biggest. Like, if that doesn't get solved, then there's no way we'd want to be a Arc service provider. Yeah, it's like as you're going, maybe just a quick summary of the difference between Arc and Spark. Like they're both effectively to the user. From the user's perspective, they're similar kinds of things. If all is going well, you receive money, you send money, there's no limits, it's all well and good. Yeah, and they're both trying to cross the line and make an argument that they're a non-custodial system that still has good UX as if it was custodial. And they have different strategies for supporting their claims. I think Arc probably has a better claim to it, although it's not bulletproof, we'll say. Yeah, so with Spark, you're trusting that the servers promise to delete keys. So there's a fundamental trust involved. It's impossible to prove that they're doing this. But with Arc, custodial. Yeah.
But Arc replaces the trust with interactive signing sessions in order to create these batched UTXOs that are shared amongst users. So that has the benefit of being able to verify 100% as a user that you do have unilateral exit for your funds. Like it is much more credibly non-custodial, but as the problem that the users have to do this cooperative process where they sign and come online to sign transactions every so often. So this interactivity problem is the same thing that makes non-custodial Lightning hard, and it's just a much more intricate engineering Rube Goldberg machine.
It's just crazy. I've been thinking about like the liquidity manager. I think you could price it like pretty fine as the provider, but really that griefing element is going to be crazy, where the users who are using the default, they have this shared UTXO or this virtual UTXO, VTXO, they're calling it. And someone's like, oh yeah, I'm out, right? And all of a sudden, everyone who shares the UTXO with me is also on chain now. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So we think that there's a lot of room for like a well-motivated attacker who's willing to burn some of their own Bitcoin can effectively grief a Arc service provider and provide a really, really bad experience for their users. I think it remains to be seen how that's going to be priced to prevent it, because you have to balance the price reduction and benefits for the average user versus being able to disincentivize an attacker. I think that remains to be seen. And then I guess the signing, like the blind signing, is something that still needs to be done. The service provider still has great insights into the funds that their users have and the transactions they're making. There's a long ways to go to that. And, just also interacting with Lightning and having to do those swaps. There are definitely some privacy challenges there as well. And a whole other pricing challenge too, especially if you're the service provider. So there's like a ton of challenges, a ton of concerns that we have. We're keeping our eyes close on it. But again, it's something like that we're super excited that people are experimenting with. We think it's an idea that has a lot of merit, that we want to see people explore further. And I think there's a very distinct possibility that like Arc or something similar to it, like maybe the next iteration, ideally with covenants, we think covenants will solve a lot of that interactivity mess, could land in Zeus. But at the same time, like I don't know if we're gonna get covenants activated at this point. We really need something to really galvanize the community, and we seem to be distracted by a whole lot of nonsense. So I don't know when or if we're gonna get covenants.
Sad.
It's sad, dude. It's sad, and a lot of people. I mean, like, rightfully so, of course. If you're like working on it, you're gonna say, "Oh, we don't need covenants. We don't need covenants." Like, I think we need covenants.
Yeah, I think I've heard
to really be successful.
I think I've heard reps from both implementations of Arc, both like the second and the Arc Labs people.
There's nuances to it.
Yeah, like I think they both like admitted that like the current architecture is a stopgap until we have covenants. Like there are some things we can do to make it better, but like the fact that in order to be really non-custodial, every user has to come online every so often to do a collaborative signing session, and if one
or they lose their money.
Yeah. And if they don't, and the griefing thing you're talking about is like, you have to decide who's a part of the signing session before the signing begins. So if one person says, yes, I'm into the signing session, and then backs out when the signing starts happening, that sabotages the whole round. So you have to restart the process. So you can do this a bunch, and that this is like the denial of service.
That's like also not unsolvable. Like the Wasabi guys and the Samurai guys have like dealt with the grievers in that regard. But still, there's like just ejecting from the UTXO, and even after the signing ceremony, like separate from the signing ceremony, like that can provide that really bad UX. But I digress. I'm really pumped. I'm really grateful for that both teams are deciding to spend time and resources and efforts, because the Arc idea is certainly worth exploring.
Yeah. Also, have you been tracking what their current like additional stopgap solutions are to fix like the interactivity UX. Have you been following this at all?
Oh, no, you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Tell him, Alex.
Yeah, so both projects are, in order to avoid having to wake up the user and come online to sign every so often, every 30 days or whatever, they're saying that as an option, you can delegate signing for your keys to something like a federation or even a state chain operator, so that they can do the signing on behalf of you, which is this is really the best we have. It's unfortunate because, in my opinion, it somewhat like negates the cool parts about Arc. It's like if you're ending up with the Federation anyways, you might as well start there.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying like Fedi much more likely at this point to getting into Zeus than Arc.
Rock on.
Yeah. So for final power rankings from 5 to 1, it's a fully custodial thing.
Yeah.
Shotgun KYC. Spark, Arc, Fedi, Cashu. And that's what we're rolling with for the first iteration of the graduated wallet. We're doing Cashu. It's coming soon. Version 0.12 of Zeus is now in the hand in an alpha state for our early supporters and Zeus Pay Plus subscribers. And work on 13.0 is going to kick off in the coming weeks. So we're super excited about it. Like I said, we're not going to get it down pat. It's just another idea that's worth exploring more, like a lot of these other ideas we've been talking about today. And yeah, we're just really excited to get it in people's hands and get feedback and just keep rocking that feedback loop like we've been doing since 2019. It's really all the users that spend the time testing the features early, and just tell us what works and what doesn't. And, we just try not to take it personally and just try to take it one day at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah, you've been masters at building in public.
Yeah, it's been fun, but like, there's trade-offs. It could be uneasy. You have people peering at your code, people yelling at you on social media, trying to be very patient. We got some really bad support emails last week. It's like, what the hell is this? You charged me $5 to open this Lightning channel. This is bullshit. I made a payment with Strike, and they didn't charge me anything. It's like just like these long run-on sentences. But it's you got to have thick skin when you're developing in public and an open source project, and you ultimately got to realize that there's going to be people that are very loud, whose opinions don't matter so much. But also try to distill like the truth in that. It's like, yeah, of course, the self-custody wallet may never have the same UX that like a Strike, a custody thing might have. Well, at least until like their like an account gets like shut down or something.
Yeah.
But we could still self-reflect and say, hey, this could be better. This could be better. There's ways for us to do X, Y, and Z better, and just try to just keep pushing forward on it. And know that it's like ultimately worth it. And when we see people say, "Oh, Evan, this is great," or "You're the most beloved Bitcoin wallet," I'm like, oh, that sounds good. That feels good. And seeing it in action, when people like go to new merchants and try it for the first time, and you're like, oh shit, the first video we got of someone paying at Steak and Shake was with Zeus. The first wallet we saw at Compass Coffee in DC, there's someone with a Zeus wallet. Like that's cool.
I think I was the video of the first person paying for a beer in El Salvador with Zeus.
Was that the? Oh yeah.
With the cool sunglasses.
I always mix that up with the one of Stefan Livera, and he's doing the beer, and it's like 90% head and just like 10% beer.
Wow, nice beer.
Yours was the one that just took really long, right?
Yeah. Well, it was because I don't know if it was first or not, but I just know that like of anything I ever posted to Twitter, that was when I was Bitcoin design community, and I was always sharing what I was working on. It's like no matter what I was working on, like nothing got me more attention than that one video of using And I was really excited. It was a video of me using Zeus,
You're pumped.
but because I had a node running over Tor at home connected to my Zeus wallet, paid for the beer. It took like 60 seconds to scan the invoice or something. Well, because first it was just like the sunlight, the density of the Bolt 11 invoice QR code, the sunlight and the glare, and then it going over Tor.
Yeah, Trump had that problem too.
And then I think it got retweeted by Bitcoin Magazine, retweeted by Nayib Bukele, and then because of that, I still get to this day, every once in a while, it will resurface and somebody will be like, some like Ethereum or Solana person will be like, look at this, total asshat Bitcoiner, like, all excited over a payment that took 60 seconds,
That's hilarious.
Sorry, that was a digression.
Classic. No.
It's funny. I saw the video before I even met you. Like I knew you from that video. I was like, oh, it's the same person. Like,
oh, it's that guy who bought a beer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we don't pick what makes us famous.
I'm beer guy now. Well, we're getting up past the hour here. I guess maybe it would be good to maybe just take a brief break from Lightning and Zeus and all that, and just what else in the space are you excited about, Evan?
Excited something? I'm
Bitcoin
excited
or
about
tech in general,
Bitcoin and tech in general. Oh, Alex and I were talking a lot about AI earlier, and we're talking about how AI has really changed our workflows personally and for our projects and our teams, and how transformative that's been. The benefits, but also like the challenges in doing it. And like AI just a couple years ago, we're like, yeah, it's like the guy with 11 fingers, right? To like, oh, okay, like this thing is a one-shotting code and it's really 10xing our team's productivity. It's been really, really cool to see. And it's like super interesting to think about like how society is going to have to adapt to it. Like how are you going to raise our kids and be like, yeah, anything you just see, like it could be fake. Like don't trust your eyes anymore.
Yeah, I mean everything's
scary.
like maybe I've done a bunch of thinking about this. Like I'm sure you have too. Like yeah, maybe the future version of the world is like everything is going to be considered hearsay unless it's like from a credible person.
Right, but that's like how we probably should have been treating things anyway. It's like,
well, that's how we used to treat things, and then we had digital records that were hard to fabricate, and now they're easy to fabricate. So we're going to go back to what it was before digital records existed, and it'll just be based on credibility and from only trusting things from the or from the mouths of trustworthy people.
Right, and that's funny to think about, like, 'cause where did a lot of these myths come from? Just like, storytelling and like, oh, I saw it, I swear. There's no real records of a lot of this stuff. It's a brave new world. It's going to be really interesting to see how people navigate it. We're already seeing it like commercial products. Coca-Cola, this is the first year that their Christmas commercial is generated in AI. We're seeing video game developers use AI for assets, some very lazily, some in very interesting ways. Yeah, it's really going to come down to how much you wield it as like as a creator versus how much you let it like control you, and how discerning and how much what's the word we were using, how much agency you retain.
Yeah, versus
it's huge, like, right, like you still have to be discerning about the code you let into your code base. You still got to be discerning about what code you let get into your commits. But at the same time, if you're willing to put in the work and not be lazy about it and have agency, it's a superpower.
Yeah,
superpower, and you could become a 10x coder, with as long as you're willing to spend the time and to understand it. That's it. Otherwise, you really like dig a grave for yourself, right? You're like a vibe coder. You don't know what's going on. The funniest of the vibe coders who just started coding and they don't do version control either.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, it was working 3 prompts ago and they can't go back. But even if you do have that and you're not really understanding how the code is working, you can easily dig so many holes for yourself where more and more bugs emerge as you're adding more and more functionality. It's like the architecture, the understanding, the agency you put into the code is more important than ever. But at the same time, like if you know how to wield it, it's like, oh, okay. Now I have um like uh like tests for all my code, and I don't have to write that by hand. I just save myself 3 hours. Like,
Huge.
game changer. Oh, I need bindings for another language. Already I wrote all the protos, the definitions by type. Boom, bam. Huge time saver.
Yeah.
Um
I think with today's current iteration of AI models, it's like I don't think that AI is removing developer jobs or designer jobs or really any kind of knowledge worker. I think what it's doing is a couple things. It's making the people who are already really excellent developers 10x. It's helping people who are really excellent designers 10x. It's helping people who are whatever kind of knowledge worker you are 10x. And I think it's also helping people who want to get into those professions, but would have not known the path on how to do that. It's helping them get into those professions a little easier. But I don't think it's like I think it's actually even more important than ever to have people who are super discriminating, developers, because it's so easy to come up with slop code, slop writing, slop design, slop everything. So that might change one day, if we have AGI or something, but that's kind of how I feel about our current crop of models.
Yeah, we're screwed. We're so cooked.
Well, that was a negative note, Alex. But maybe Evan, can you end us on a positive note?
Yes, like I was telling Alex, I'm flipping everything on its head, right? Like I was supposed to be on the way to Mauritius, African Bitcoin Conf. Check it out. Hopefully the videos get posted for my panel. But I'm flipping on its head. No, this is an opportunity to hang out with you guys a day. Come on the show right here, the radio hour. What was my other example? My other example is like, oh, no, it's not like, oh, there's so much work. It's just like, no, thank God we have so much work to do in this space still, that there's so much exciting and challenging work for us to do.
It's fun.
And, thank God we have AI, because now it'll empower us to go up against these traditional institutions and structures and basically fiat money. We're more empowered than ever to create the stuff that we need to, enable more human flourishing and get to the next step. And I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too grandiose, but the next step of humanity, like the world for our children.
Yeah, the beautiful parts really are beautiful indeed.
Indeed, and we got to try to focus on those, and focus on the things that are in our control and not the bad things that are there with every generation, with every era of time. So if we do that, we have a positive outlook, but also take that time to self-reflect, then I don't think we could lose.
I think that's a phenomenal place to end.
Yeah, sounds good. Any final notes before anybody watching before we wrap things up?
That's it. Look out for the Zeus open beta next week or so. Maybe Friday, but probably next week when I get back from Africa. There's a bunch of stuff in there. NWC on Android and iOS. Channel balancing, wallet import format keys, so you could take like an open dime, sweep to Zeus now. Bunch of UX and UI improvements in general. And then it's 13.0. Graduated wallet's really going to get fleshed out. That should be out the door in Q1. We're super excited. Super grateful for everyone's support, and super grateful for guys like you running spaces like this, building up their local communities. Everything starts local. And it's more important than ever in this crazy hyper-connected world to find that balance and not only have the presence online, but try to make an impact locally. So super grateful for spaces like this.
Yeah, well, thanks, Simon. It's been great to have you here today. And you heard Evan. Stay positive. Glad your flight was delayed and you got to join us today.
I'm so glad I Got my flight delayed 24 hours. You guys don't even know.
Well, if you're gonna get delayed, we're glad it's here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Evan. This was awesome.
All right, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on Friday for the regular live stream, everybody.
Peace.